John Fredriksen is a controversial tanker, fishing king, and convicted felon who's worth $11.5 billion, making him the world's 158th richest person. His road to riches is interesting and educational, with many great failures and successes along the way. He grew up poor in Oslo, Norway, dropped out of school. At 16, he got a job as an assistant clerk. How did he manage to become Norway's richest person? And how did he get the nickname Big Wolf? Continue to watch as I share this amazing tale. But first, if you enjoy interesting stories, please click the subscribe button. Let's start right away without further ado. John Fredriksen has contempt for risk. He doesn't care about rules and regulations and has stated that they are for weaklings. While others think and doubt, John Fredriksen just acts the way he sees fit. If he had lived in a different time, he would have been a Viking king. He would have used force to end any conflict or disagreement. He is brutal and only considers himself and how he can succeed. His initial fortune was made transporting oil from Iran during the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s. This war is later known as the Tanker War, in which both Iran and Iraq attacked oil tankers transporting oil. Over 400 civilian seamen were killed and hundreds of merchant ships were damaged. Few shipping companies were willing to risk their crew and their ships by transporting oil. John Fredriksen was one of the largest transporters during the war. He made millions in profit despite his ships being bombed several times. But this happened when John was in his mid-30s. Let's go back to the beginning, see how John came to start in the shipping industry. John Fredriksen was born on May 10, 1944 in Norway. He grew up as the son of a welder on the east side of Oslo. Many things in life just happen, and that certainly applies to John Fredriksen. He got into the shipping industry because of his father, but not in the way you think. His father was, as mentioned, a welder and had no special connection to or insights into the shipping industry. He read a job listing for an assistant clerk at a shipping firm. He told his son John, and he applied for the job and got it. He quit school and started working the day after. After working in the shipping industry for some years, John got a job offer from a company situated in Montreal, which he accepted. However, he didn't find the work challenging enough and moved to the company's office in New York. He also spent some time working in Singapore before returning to Norway. After gaining valuable experience and connections in the industry, John decided to start for himself. His first company was named Dominion Shipping. He contracted ships and made contracts for shipping cement between cities in Africa. Unfortunately, this was not a good idea, and John had to sell his ships at a loss. John was determined to succeed, so he started up again, this time by having a company purchase and sell bunker oil. He made a large profit, took a big risk, and invested all of his money in tanker stocks on the stock exchange. Bad stocks struck when the big tanker stock crash appeared at the stock exchanges, and John had to start from scratch again. His third endeavor involved bulk shipping. He began shipping goods after purchasing some container ships. John, unfortunately, experienced more bad luck when one of his ships suddenly collapsed at sea. It needed to be saved and fixed. John had to allow the business to file for bankruptcy because he lacked the funds to pay for the repairs and the rescue operation. After 3 failures, a lot of people would have just given up, but not John. He was determined that he was going to make it. He had some funds left, and he convinced the bank to loan him some money. Together with 3 others, he started Northern Shipping in the mid-70s. Then the Iran-Iraq War came, as mentioned earlier, and John made a crazy amount of money by transporting oil in the Persian Gulf. According to a biography, he was the lifeline of the Iranian dictator Ayatollah Khomeini. The supreme leader of Iran during this period. Because of his reputation as a high-risk taker, his competitors in the media began to refer to him as Big Wolf during this time period. In 1986, prosecutors charged Fredriksen and senior executives with directing crews to steal crude from vessels and use it as bunker fuel to power them. They also accused him of defrauding the cargo's insurer, guard, and endangering the lives of crew members by using crude as a marine fuel. He denied the allegations. The police in Norway wanted to arrest and interrogate John, but for weeks he hid from them. He lived alone in a small apartment, and both the media and the police tried to find him. He finally surrendered and was put in jail, where he spent 113 days in custody. This was a tough time for John. He didn't lose his spirit in order to not go insane. He said later that he taught himself to knit, producing sweaters for his twin daughters, Catherine and Cicely. Even though shipping costs and ship values were rising, he instructed his CEO to sell his fleet of ships out of fear his company was doomed. He lost $300 million because of the choice. The legal matter he had to battle with Norwegian prosecutors for 5 years. Case ended with that John's company had to pay $333,333 in fines for endangering the workers. Worse allegations were dropped. John was a free man. Despite selling his ships with a big loss, John made a big profit. He was obsessed by making money and took great risk. He used his cash and he borrowed money from banks and started to buy up companies. In the 90s, he started buying and selling ships and drilling rigs, but a large share of the Swedish tanker company Frontline in 1996. This company, along with others he owns, makes him the owner of the world's largest oil tanker fleet. He's also a majority owner in Seadrill, a deep-water rig operator. In 2005, he became the majority owner of Panfish. He used this company to buy 3 of his competitors, naming the new larger fishing company Marine Harvest, now known as Maui. Maui is the world's largest salmon producer. Maui's been heavily criticized for its facilities in Chile. There have been allegations raised against the company that their operations are harmful to the environment and that workers are not treated well. John also owns other businesses like real estate firms, payment companies, and different carrier companies. He has really made a name for himself and is by far the richest Norwegian alive. In 2006, he gave up his Norwegian citizenship to move to Cyprus. Norway has much higher taxation than Cyprus, so that was the motivation for John to abandon his birth country. John's living in London, where he owns one of the most expensive houses in the world. He controls his companies from his 3,000 square meter Chelsea home in London, the old rectory, which he bought from fellow shipping magnate Theodore Angelopoulos. The mansion dates from the 17th century and has the second largest garden in London, second only to Buckingham Palace. The rectory was where Arthur Charles Kingsley spent his youth when his father was the rector of Chelsea Old Church in the 1830s. Charles Dickens married in the living room, and the Battle of Waterloo was planned in the neat gardens. The total floor space of 30,000 square feet is the equivalent of 5 large family houses, and it also boasts a spectacular indoor swimming pool and tennis courts. John bought the house in 2001. British press speculated in 2019 whether the house was for sale. The house and gardens were valued at $1 billion. In his personal life, John has 2 twin daughters who have been working with their daddy in order to take over his businesses. The girls' mother died of cancer when they were 23 years old. John is not only cold-hearted and ruthless, he's donated millions of dollars to the Norwegian Radium Hospital for cancer research. One of his donations was signed on a napkin at his annual Christmas party in 2007. Another donation that caught the media's attention was when he gave a homeless man $100 and told him to get a haircut. In Norway, John has gained a reputation as a notoriously media-shy profiteer in an unauthorized biography about John Fredriksen. He's described like this. It was not enough becoming the biggest and richest in Norway. John Fredriksen continues to hunt at an ever-increasing pace, driven by an eternal urge to prove something. John's mindset is what has made him one of the world's wealthiest people. This quote from John sums it all up. When the market goes to hell, it's more of an opportunity than a problem. Where other people see difficulties and problems, John sees opportunities. And with these words, we end the story about John Fredriksen, or Big Wolf. If you like great stories, you should check out this story about the t-shirt and shorts scammer Sam Bankman-Fried. That was all for now, and I hope I see you in the next one.